Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Linda Lang.
Hi, this is Linda Lang from ThoughtChange.com. We are here once again exploring the mystical side of life. Today I have Brandon Beachum with me. Brandon is a podcaster, entrepreneur, an author, a philosopher, and a true seeker. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's do a little plug for your podcast first.
Great. That will never hurt my feelings.
The Positive Head Podcast.
Positive Head Podcast. I just passed 6 years of recording and almost 1,500 episodes. I started out, I've been on my own spiritual journey, I suppose you could say, for about 25 years. And if you listen to episode 1 of Positive Head, you'll hear me say I had to finally start a podcast because my poor friends and family's ears are bleeding from me talking about this stuff incessantly. I need a new outlet. And so that's what I did. I started, I knew for quite some time that it became apparent to me that my dharmic path was going to involve, talking about the ultimate nature of reality and consciousness and helping others to remember, come back together with other parts of themselves, their higher self, et cetera, and others in the physical world. And the name Positive Head actually came to me because I was given a talk to my employees before releasing the podcast. But I was talking about, like, look, if you could just watch your thoughts. And, I've often dreamed of having a device that could just analyze your thoughts. And every time you have a negative thought, it like buzzes you or something, a wristband or something, and then you can see how many thoughts you're having that are going into the negative bucket versus the positive bucket. And this young kid came up to me afterwards. He hadn't been working for us long. I hadn't really gotten to know him. And he's like, I heard you're talking. There's something my psychiatrist had given me and told me to wear a rubber band. And every time I have, a negative thought or whatever, like pop myself, like I'm like, oh, what an interesting idea, And so I thought, I'm going to try this, and as I go home that evening and I start rummaging through my drawers for a rubber band, I didn't have a rubber band, but I had this elastic wristband that had come off of a racquetball racket to keep it on your wrist if you let go. And it said head on it, like head makes rackets, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, here's a head thing. That kind of makes sense. This is for your head. This is, for a positive head. And so that was where it came from. I'm just glad, like I said on episode 1, if one person listens to it, I win because, and that's going to be me. We teach best what we most need to learn. So, anyone else is icing on the cake. So.
We often don't realize how negative we think.
I always say the only thing I'm good at, Linda, is making up good stories about myself. Once you start to understand how reality works and that you are the creator and created rolled into one. We're one with the source consciousness that creates and animates all things. Okay, so if we're the creator, and what do? We are creative with our energy, with our beliefs. Everything is vibrational in nature. We know that. We know that science, of course, is backing. Science and spirituality are doing such an interesting dance where they're like, supporting one another, and everything is the vibrations of energy. That the particles that make me up, the atoms, are not solid at all. They're 99.9999% space. They're vibrations popping in and out of existence. We don't know where they come from or where they go to, but they flicker so quick we appear solid, and it's a simulation. And so once you start to understand, okay, I'm creative. Everything I'm emitting is creative. That which is like unto itself is drawn, right? So I better get good at, emitting things that I want to see more of as a creative being. And that's, abracadabra, it translates to, you probably heard, I create as I speak, right? Our words are our wands. We are spelling. We are casting a spell with everything we emit. And that becomes the number one game in town. I always say our number one, we all have the same job. We have various lives and paths and careers, but we all have the same top job: manage your vibration, because everything comes from that.
Absolutely. And for all of those people who don't think they're creative, every thought you think, you have created it.
Yep. It's such an interesting fallacy, that whole, oh, I'm not creative. Abracadabra. Oh, they said they're not creative. Let's show them that they could never play an instrument. Or, it's like, you're so creative, you created the effect, the experience of not feeling creative. It's like, wow.
There's a ton of stuff out there about manifesting and becoming more abundant, more prosperous.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, there are a lot of people that have studied it but haven't been able to realize the manifestations that they really, at
Mm-hmm.
least consciously, think that they
Mm-hmm.
want.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is missing?
It's a great question. I'm sure you're familiar with Abraham.
Absolutely.
Talks a lot about, the instant we think something, it goes, or desire something, it goes into our vibrational escrow, right? And it's like, because time is an illusion, we can also, science also supports that, right? You shoot me in outer space and bring me back a day at light speed, bring me back a day later, I'm a day older and you're gone for 100 years or something. So it's all happening in the eternal now. So you ask and it is instantly given, and then it is there waiting in your vibrational escrow for you to get into vibrational alignment with it, so it can actually appear in your movie, right? So there's it's like there's a recipe involved. And I love how Derek Rydall, I first heard it from him, talking about the law of emergence versus attraction. It's not something even already out there to attract. It's all within you. Just like the acorn, the oak tree is within the acorn, right? It's, if you take that, if a little boy finds the acorn and puts it on a shelf in his room, it's never going to become an oak tree. If it goes in the soil with the right sunlight, the right water, the right, everything, it's going to sprout into this magnificent next emanation of itself, next version of itself. So it's really about creating the right conditions for these things to appear. And that is where it gets a little tricky for people, because it's like, there's some things that are known and some things that are unknown. And I sort of equate it in my book, The Golden Key, to, if you're cooking up a big stew, what are you going to get? What's it going to taste like? Well, what are the ingredients that are going in? Well, what was your vibrational offering today, last week, last month, last year, your whole life leading up to this point? What have you put into the pot of, manifestation from prior lifetimes that's still tied to you energetically, that wants to find balance for itself, right? And what is your dharmic path, right? What did your soul set out to do? Is like, sort of like, okay, these are bullet points we're going to hit. Like, I believe there's a lot of potentials from this moment forward. There's many versions of the two of us and everyone listening, right? There's probably not a version among all those variations where Brandon Beachum, 6 foot tall, 46 years old, becomes the center of the Los Angeles Lakers. Maybe, I mean, God's pretty creative, but I think, we probably used a different avatar for that. So what is your dharmic path? What are the things that you kind of came in with, like, sort of pre-programmed in? So I always say our life plays out at the corner of free will and destiny. It's destined because time is an illusion and it's all already happening. It's all already happened. It's happening now. This is the eternal now. My 5th birthday party is happening on another channel. I'm just not tuned into it. Future versions of me. First time I had an intuitive or psychic reading, this really hit home, because a woman looked at me and said, I see you in a cold place like Chicago working in business. I was planning to move to Chicago and work for my uncle in business within a year of that reading. And I was we were thousands of miles away from Chicago in that moment, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my jaw hit the floor. Then she said, there's this whole other place in music in California. And, which a year later, I ended up forming a band, meeting someone from California, and here we are 20 some years later, right? So what was she seeing? She was seeing the potential Brandons in that moment. So from this moment forward, I believe, well, which one do I want from this seat forward? I want to experience the greatest and grandest version, the one that's the most rewarding. Well, the good news is time is an illusion. Source has already been there, done that, and gotten the t-shirt. So that really becomes the game, is like doing everything I can to manage my vibration. And lots of people, times people will say expectation is the enemy. It's bad. And expectation is great. Desire is great, with a healthy sense of detachment. once I'm going to set the intention based off all information that I have in my human, in my human level of consciousness. I'm going to set the course for this direction, knowing very well that I also have a higher self that I'm doing a dance with that can see I'm playing checkers and my higher self is playing chess, right? So if I'm wanting to go a certain direction and all of a sudden something totally else gets thrown at me, why is this happening for me? One of the keys in the 8 keys in the Golden Key book is trust the mystery. I don't know exactly why, but I know the dance that I'm doing with my higher self, and I know it's happening for love. I know smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor, and I came here to be a skilled sailor. That my challenges are blessings, my triggers are my treasures. And so, you embody that childlike wonder and you turn over rocks and explore. What does the kid do? He's like picking it up and sniffing and looking and trying it on, and like, okay, I'm just going to do that. Oh, something comes completely left field that wasn't part of what I wanted to manifest. Get over yourself being attached to these manifestations. It's this or something better. It's like I think it's a Rolling Stones song. Yeah, I think you might not get what you want, but you'll get what you
get
need.
what you need.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. And so when you can trust that, you can relax about the need to manifest this particular thing. You came here for more than getting everything that you consciously want. You came here for way more than that.
First thing, I would like your opinion on how people can step into that place where they can look for what they want instead of what isn't working, what's wrong. I think people spend too much time trying to fix the things that aren't the way they want in their life. So they're spending all of their energy on what's wrong instead of projecting it to where they want to go and who they want to be.
It's one of the biggest pitfalls on the way to creating the life of our dreams is this idea. It's like I said earlier, numbers never end. Look at every rich person, really wealthy. But I remember sitting with a guy one time. He comes to mind saying this. He's like, "Well, I'm a $12 million guy. I need to be 20 million." Talking about his net worth. It's like, well, what does that even mean? Who cares? Like, what a blessing to have $12 million. Shut up, And it's like just, and if he's 20, guess what? He'd need to be a $40 million guy because that would help make him more of a man in some way. And it's like being grateful for what you have. Like there's a Sufi saying, the shortcut to abundance is appreciating what it is you already have. And the irony of that is that creates more of it because you're now in a state of gratitude and feeling abundant, right? You're feeling like get radically abundant. Well, what about you're focused your energy on what you need more of or where you lack. What about the seat under your butt right now? What about the food that you click a button on a little square device and it's delivered to you? Do you know how much your ancestors would go and lose limbs trying to get dinner, and come back 8 hours later, unsuccessful? Like, and meanwhile, we're like, laying on our comfortable, air conditioned rooms and click a button and someone brings it. What's next? They're just going to come and put it in our mouth for us. Focusing on what you have to be grateful for now. You are so wealthy compared to everyone who's come before you. You look back 100 years ago, they just didn't even have cars, barely. Mario Andretti, the greatest race car driver of all time, they asked him, what's the number one piece of advice you give new race car drivers? His answer was, don't look at the wall. You know why? Where attention goes, energy flows. And so, don't look at the wall. Look at what you want to see more of. That is the job. That's how you create more. You don't need to figure out all the hows, whens, wheres, whys. What's the next plan of attack? How do I go out there and move things around in 3D to make more something for myself? There is no out there. Out there shows up as a reflection of you. Everywhere you go, you're there waiting for yourself. And so it's so empowering when you realize, you can, from sitting where you're at, is that where you do the most work. Yes, there is a time and a place for action. You learn how to read these signals and prompts from yourself. And but that's the dance, is learning how to do that. And it's such a relief that to know you don't need to go figure it all out. Your higher self can, like I said, is you have, you're playing this game not alone in a certain sense. You just do your part, managing your vibration and then taking action when you feel prompted to do so. And that's when you start to get into the flow of how to create abundance in your life.
And so, what would you tell our listeners who maybe feel a little stuck?
Mhm.
Things aren't moving for them, or maybe they don't even know where they want to go.
You know, I think it was Osho said, security is death. Not knowing is where all the magic is. All the possibility is there. You don't know? Congratulations. All the possibilities are open for you. Wow. Yes, it's exciting when something snaps into place for us that we know this is the path, this is what I'm doing, this is who I'm marrying, this is what, that's an exciting point. And it's a death to all the other possibilities many times, right? Not knowing, wow, what the you sense of wonder and awe that you can tap into when you trust the process of who and what you are. There's never been a soul more worthy than you to have the life of your dreams. You just have to align yourself with that. And so, I mean, just for you to be here, go back 400 years, you have a couple thousand grandparents just in that time. The choice points, the challenges, the hardship, the love loss, the pain, that that was experienced for you to be listening and alive in this now moment as you hear these words. I mean, the universe, 14 billion years of evolution, so much has had to happen. Even a star that lived out its childhood, young adult life, middle age, old age, died a violent death, spewed its guts across the galaxy, that then reformed as you. You are the evolution, the tip of the spear, evolutionary spear of the entire universe. And here you are questioning my worth. Is there something for me? Am I good enough? Am I like, what a joke?
We're all walking miracles, really.
Yep, absolutely.
So, how can they get into that headspace?
Well, that's a great question. I think we're doing it now. And this is, the reason I love talking about this stuff incessantly is because what are we doing? We're navigating each other vibrationally to a place. We're swimming in a vibrational pool of wonder and magic and possibility and empowerment and clear vision. And so, how do you keep doing that? I mean, just like it's important what food you put in your body. Are you listening to this podcast regularly? Are you listening to other things regularly? Are you reading books? Are you, managing your vibration, the number one thing. A lot of times you think you've got to take a bunch of action to get somewhere. That's not the smartest way. There is a time and a place for it. But doing these sorts of things, I mean, anyone listening to this is already, on the path. And congratulations, because a lot of people are still wandering lost out there that haven't started to figure out these things. So you're ahead of the curve right now. You're already ahead, so relaxing into it. I wrote a book recently that for me, The Golden Key, Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. I thought to myself, what is the most abundant thing I could do? How could I walk the talk? Well, what if I share these keys that I've spent, 25 years of deep exploration with people that is kind of distilled down into? Obviously, I have a lot to say, as you can see in 1,500 episodes. How do I distill that down into 3 hours of listening, or 100 pages to read? And that's what I did with the Golden Key. And then decided, you know what, the most abundant thing I can do is gift that to people and allow them to turn around and gift it to others. And so I created this whole gamification around it. And so that's one way that I'd love to help contribute to. I call it the good kind of selfish, by giving it to you. If it benefits you in any way, since you are an extension of me, I must feel the energetic repercussions of doing so. And so, I selfishly would love to give you my book. Linda, I think you created a code that people can use to get the audio and or ebook.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is simply Thought Change. We will put the link in the show notes. Thought Change is one word. And we'd both love you to have this fascinating book of how you can step into mastery, really.
Yeah, it's the journey. We're doing it. And if you go to goldenkey.gift, you would just put that code in at checkout, and then it will be, audio or ebook will be free for you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what kind of magic is possible, Brandon?
It's all possible. It's impossible. The word impossible, if you break it down, says I'm possible. And so it's all there hiding in plain sight. When you come holding your bag of sugar to be filled, it will be examined to see how large it is. What do you expect? What is the story that you're telling? A lot of us have been treated like fleas that you would, if you put fleas in a jar and put the lid on it, fleas can jump really high. But if you put them in a jar and put the lid on it, they will jump until they hit that lid, and then they'll start adjusting their jump so that they never go as high as the lid and hit it. Take the lid off, guess what the fleas do? Keep jumping, same height, because they've been trained. This is the limits. There are no limits. You've been trained that there are. Congratulations. That gives you the perfect setup to overcome those limits and feel the exhilaration that comes along with it. And just the most important thing is really remembering how worthy you are. There's never been anyone more worthy than you. There's something for you from this moment forward in your greatest and greatest version of yourself, your highest timeline, that is so incredibly marvelous and magnificent and beyond anything you could have imagined, and how rewarding that particular timeline is. Start tapping into that vibrationally. Be it to see it, right? Don't do something like work in order to have something like money, in order to be something like exhilarated and happy. Be exhilarated and happy, and you'll step into the timeline where you're doing and having things that are a reflection of that vibrational offering you proactively put out. And that's the path. When you start seeing someone, I'll leave with one other little thing that I always, a lot of times people get into this comparison thing in our world. Instagram, look at her, look at this podcast. I could never do that. Of course, and it's like, no, if you're attracting something into your field, that which is likened to itself is drawn, right? So if you're attracting this particular broadcast into your reality, you're hearing me and Linda in this moment, it's because we're such close vibrational matches that it's showing up. So if you're attracting the person on Instagram that you admire, or, in your world, it's not like, oh, I could never do that, creating more separation. It's like, oh, that's such a close extension of me vibrationally that I'm calling it in. Oh, this person's got more of what I want. Wow, I'm getting closer. I'm getting warmer. Oh, I want this relationship. It didn't work out. I'm not good enough. It's like, oh, wow, you mean that I was so excited about that, but it didn't work out. So, but since it's this or something better, wow, what's next? I can hardly wait to get to the next thing, because I know it's not if, but when that I get what I deserve when I'm holding that perspective.
I would actually take that one step further, Brandon, and say if
Mm-hmm.
you can see the beauty in another person, or the joy, the peace, the love, the
Mm-hmm.
prosperity, you have it within you. You would
Absolutely.
you wouldn't recognize it if
Yep.
you didn't have it.
Well said. Well said.
Perfect, perfect. It's been really delightful chatting with you today.
Likewise.
Thank you for sharing the wisdom that you have garnered over the years.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And we're going to send people again to the link.
goldenkey.gift.
Be sure to use ThoughtChange as you sign out. Thank you again for being my guest, Brandon, and thank you for listening to this week's edition of Exploring the Mystical Side of Life. You will find all of our conversations on YouTube, Apple Podcast. Come and visit me at thoughtchange.com. Learn what energy medicine can do for you, and we'll see you again next time. Bye for now.